Okay, before the video starts, the video is going to be about what your right hand possesses, sex slavery, concubines, and all of these kind of controversial topics within Islam and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to speak about it for a particular reason. This is a drawing I'm working on, so you can just see how I work. I do sketches upon sketches upon sketches. I don't just copy photos. So I've got my idea. It's very controversial. You might see little babies, people in ovens, mothers, and I'll let people guess what this drawing is going to be about. Let's just say it's going to be very controversial. But obviously, when I have something in my head, like maybe a musician or a poet or whatever it is, I have to get it onto paper. And so I'm just refining the drawing, and it's going to be pretty controversial. I'm going to be talking about a video I saw with SYEED, Ali Diva's pet poodle. And damn SYED, oh my god, man, like, I'm not sure if you should go on camera anymore, because you're letting out some secrets about Islam that is not making Islam look good. You are really kind of making me rethink a lot of things. One of my biggest problems is that, you know, when I talk about grooming, I always say that grooming is not related to Islam directly. A lot of people that, like Tommy Robinson and other individuals, say it is. And I've always disagreed with them because I don't think devout Muslims will be behaving in this way. And I think that's been obscured by my relationship with some Muslims at the park, who I really think are amazing people, great people. Some people may not like them. I think they're great people. The obvious ones are obviously people like Shamsi and his crew. I really like his little crew, big them up. There's just something about those guys that, you know, I just think, yeah, they represent Islam in a really good way. I don't agree with everything. Obviously, I don't agree with their ideology. I'm just talking about their mannerisms and the way they conduct themselves normally. And people like Hussein and other individuals that I've met at the park that you don't really see on camera. But, you know, they're really great people. So it's hard for me to, when I'm hearing these things, for me to say it's about their religion. Because, you know, I respect them as people, and I can't believe that these people that are good people can believe or read this stuff and not see that it's wrong. Because as a Muslim, you've got to take the whole thing, obviously. Unless within their heads they've kind of compartmentalized it and they've put it to the side so they don't really think about it. Now, SYEED really dropped the ball, and he done a little chat with Crazy Amy. And I'm going to go through this video because this one video has kind of made me think maybe my stance of it being there's no connection to Islam, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is this a connection in the sense of this ideology. And what it was, what's kind of made me think this now is because SYEED really kind of like dropped the ball in terms of, or maybe he didn't drop the ball. Maybe this is the truth. Maybe he's a mistake. Please, someone try and clarify with me. So if I'm wrong in this video, try and clarify to me, please. So if any of the Sunni Dawah and the Shamsi and them or any of them are watching, please clarify what he is saying. Because for me, what he's saying on this video is that men are horny and men have desires. So let them have 4 wives. And on top of those 4 wives, let them have concubines and sex slaves and all that kind of stuff. Because men are horny. And this is problematic for me in the sense that I understand men are horny, but men are also angry. Men are also addicted to things. So does that mean you should be doing everything? So always fighting and stuff? The whole point of, I believe, for Sikhs in terms of living is to control these urges of lust and greed and anger and ego and all that. Obviously, I'm nowhere near there. I'm a terrible person when it comes to that. But it seems like within what SYEED is saying, I'm not saying what Islam is saying, what SYEED is saying is that, no, just do what you want. God has given you permission as a man to have whatever you want, so just behave like this. And now this is going to be relating to grooming, obviously, because I'm always using the argument that it's not, if you're a good Muslim, and I still believe this, so people are going to find it contradictory. It's very hard for my head to work around it. I'm trying to kind of like do mental gymnastics about how you can be a good Muslim and believe in all this and then say that it's okay to have sex slaves during wartime or any time. I don't think it's any time that you should be allowed to have sex slaves. And so I'm trying to just figure this out. And I'm starting to think that maybe what these people are saying, like even Tommy Robinson, that what the right hand possesses probably is messing up young men's Muslim guys' heads, in the sense that they're being told that, you know, on top of your wives, you're allowed to have concubines and stuff like that. And maybe the girls that are being groomed are just seen as concubines. They're not seen as anything apart from sex slaves. And so they don't have an issue with that, and also why it's so prevalent within the community and so openly done within that community. So let's go through this video here, because it's pretty, I don't know what to say about the video, man. I was just like, what is going on? Like, so 1910, yeah. So let's have a look. Oh, Rajiv, the apologist. I mean, there's a video of him here. Before we go on, here's a video that Ali Diva was doing about the age of consent. Obviously, they're always going on about this. A woman is mature when she's menstruating, which makes no sense at all. Women mature at different ages, but the menstruation takes a long time. Now, listen to what he says. They're talking about the age of consent. Obviously, got that stupid blacked out on again, that porn site. And then he goes and says this about marrying girls that are as young as 9 or 10 or 11. Listen.
I just explained it. Did you not hear me? He said the context. I just explained it. Oh my.
Look at Sarah's face. Yes. Sarah looks really annoyed. Big up, Sarah.
No, I want to know. I want to know. Muslim maturity is wrong.
So listen to this. I spoke over it.
No, I want to know. I want to know.
So he goes, what is wrong with that? So
he said the context. I just explained the act. Oh my. Is the act right or wrong? Yes. Is the act right?
So Sarah says the act is wrong, having sex with kids, and listen to what he says.
Why is the act wrong?
Why is the act wrong? The guy that wears a black hat, which is a porn site about interracial porn, where black men are dominating white women and degrading black men by making them look like they're hypersexual predators in terms of white women, and he's obsessed with white women, obviously, because he's got a white girlfriend, but says he's pro-black. That's enough about him.
No, I want to know. I want to know. Muslim maturity is wrong.
He wants to know. Now let's go back to let's go back to this. So Ali Diva is like, you know, even he's a little bit like, oh, dude, shut up. So you have this situation, yeah. Listen.
Doesn't exactly say whether or not you raped someone. Can you please tell me the evidence where someone raped someone?
So they're talking about what your right hand possesses. I don't know if to. All right. So what your right hand possesses is in Surah. I can't even say it. Surah An-Nisa in the Quran 4:24. It says, and also prohibited to you all are married women except those who your right hand possesses. So you can have women, your 4 wives, and top of that, what your right hand possesses. Obviously, what your right hand possesses is a concubine or, you know, a sex slave. So a sex slave can never be consenting, in my opinion, because they're a slave. They do not have the consent because they're being enslaved. It doesn't make sense unless your mind is very warped.
You know, it's just wordings, man.
So the guy talking about is SYEED, and he's saying it's just wording.
You know, wordings you guys have an issue with. It's alright to have an affairs, have mistresses, have girlfriends, side dish. You know, we can have it by marrying. You know.
So what he's trying to say there is that I'm not going to go into the whole issue of marrying multiple wives. The gurus I know had more than 2 wives or something, like 1 or 2 wives, 3 wives, but it's never been written anywhere in our particular faith that everybody should have that. A lot of the reasons why I understand that people might have done it in the past was for political reasons, having more than 1 wife. But you're saying that every man should have more than 1 wife. You can have more than 1 wife. So, and that's not to do with political reasons, but it's to do with sexuality, that men are horny. Obviously, some men are very horny, and then some men are in the middle, and some men are totally asexual. So each man will react differently hearing this. A very horny guy would think, oh, all right, I can do what I want now. And maybe these are the guys that are grooming, listening to this kind of stuff.
So concubines and whatnot, you know.
So he says.
What Allah made halal for us, I'm not embarrassed for it, you know.
So listen to this.
Can you please tell me the evidence where someone raped someone?
Oh, I need to go back a bit.
Why does it matter? Doesn't exactly say whether or not you rape someone.
He doesn't see slavery as a bad thing, this guy. You know, the Arab slave trade is great, according to him.
That's where someone raped someone.
James. Big up, James. The cowboy.
It's just wordings, man. You know, wordings.
It's not just wording, Saeed. If it was just wording, 1.2 billion people wouldn't say it's the word of God. Either it's the word of God or it's just wording. It doesn't make sense.
It's alright to have an affairs, have mistresses, have girlfriends, side dish. You know, we can have it by marrying. You know, concubines and whatnot. You know, what Allah made halal for us. I'm not embarrassed of it.
So he says you can have, like, what he's trying to say here is that in the West people are being promiscuous and doing this. Does that mean that it's right? No, it doesn't. It's wrong. It's like saying someone's a drug addict, so we're going to make drugs permissible so we can kind of make it in a good way. Wrong is wrong. So when you're doing things that are being promiscuous, all right, you're giving them the 4 wives. Okay, but then you say they can have concubines and whatnots. What does whatnots mean? You're making it sound very trivial. These people are sex slaves. Yeah, the concubine has no real rights. Even if you say the concubine, if you look at the definition, is a woman who lives with a man but has lower status than his wife or wives. Who in their right mind would want to live like that? Think about it. Who would you want to live like that? This is the problems I have with a lot of Muslims. They believe, like, you know, paying the jizya is amazing. Jizya is bullshit. It's a crap system and terrible. I will never pay it, and I don't care what anyone says. I will always call it bullshit. It's a tax that is oppressing people. But to them, the jizya is amazing. It's an amazing system for non-Muslims. And you can see this here as well about the sex slaves.
Whatever, you know what? I'm not embarrassed about that.
You should be embarrassed, dude. You should be embarrassed.
We're men. Yeah, men normally, like, you know how we are. You know?
So he says, we're men, we know how we are. What does that mean? That you should just let all your lust and your carnal inclinations and all your anger and all your ego and everything just go awry and just do what you want? That doesn't make sense. If you're telling this to young boys, no wonder they're turning into groomers and stuff. It doesn't make sense what you're saying. You're telling a young guy from very young that men are just horny and they can do what they want. So they can have 4 wives, but on top of that, they can then have concubines and sex slaves. No wonder we have a grooming epidemic in the UK if this is how you think. I'm starting to think what I've been told and been hearing for months and years, it might be right. Because unless someone can refute what you're saying here, I want to have a discussion about this. Because I don't understand if this is normal.
Yeah.
You're not saying it was what?
Big up, my friend Moses, the Black Terminator.
Disingenuous.
Married her?
Mr. Disingenuous.
He'll have to confirm for you.
What was that?
You'll have to confirm for me. Did you have to say why I called married a cop?
Oh, it's
Say that again?
Huh?
Marry the cop.
I'm not defending his son. I'm calling out
What, who is
inconsistencies and inaccuracies. I'm calling out
Marry the cop?
inconsistencies and inaccuracies.
I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, Saeed's doing Takia. So let's have a look. Married Al-Kabita, Mary the Copt, yeah, was an Egyptian Coptic Christian who was given to the Islamic prophet Muhammad in c. 628 as a slave by Mekwakis, the Christian ruler of Egypt. She bore him a son, Ibrahim, who died as a young child. So, what does this mean? Like, why would a prophet of God take a slave, a female slave? It doesn't make sense. You would deny that and say, look, I don't want to be any part of that because it's immoral. So, oh my God, I don't even know about that story if I'm being honest with you. So I'm hearing a lot of this stuff for the first time, so I may sound a little bit kind of, let's just say sound a little quite harsh. To me, I don't understand how that can sound normal to you.
He enslaved her. A gift. By whom?
You don't give people as gifts.
And, okay, and what then what?
It's not normal to think that you can give people as gifts.
So he went to bed with a gift. Okay, so I need to look into
The gift was Mary the Copt, you idiot. Saeed.
Yeah. Now, no. Now, okay. So if it's accepted, yeah, I know there must be context to the story, and I won't have an issue with it. Because
What context?
Men, because there's kings in the past who kidnap people and take them and sell them and.
This is the biggest problems here I have with Muslims. They compare their prophet, who's supposed to be perfect and to be emulated as a perfect human being, to a king who we know are corrupt individuals who are of their time, and we do not worship these people. So we can look back at, say, King Henry VIII and say he was a terrible individual who murdered his wives. We don't want to follow these people. So your logic is flawed, totally. You are making the assertion that or a claim that Prophet Muhammad is a perfect human being, but we do not make that claim of the kings. So whatever their conduct is, we can say that was their conduct and it was terrible. You cannot say that. This is where you have people justifying the unjustifiable, like slavery and stuff like this. It's insane.
Use them for sex in a forceful way. Do you understand? So,
when you're a slave, you'll be under the mental slavery and physical slavery of the person. No one wants to be a slave.
The whole story, I need to look into it. So I can't get into something. No. In Islam, sex is like, we can have sex, we can enjoy sex we have conditions.
What conditions, you idiot?
Now, holy, just because you're holy, sex.
No one said that.
Like, looked at
no one
like
said that.
Or anything like that. No? We can have sex, we can enjoy sex in Islam, but we have certain conditions.
So your conditions is slavery. What does that mean? Either the person is free or they're not. If they're a slave, they do not have the choice. You may think in your own warped head that somebody is making a choice, but they are not. They are under your control. So they cannot have the mental capacity to be able to make an informed decision without having to have that baggage of them being enslaved. Can you not understand that? Or is your brain so brainwashed to this point that even good and bad is being obscured to the point that you don't know what is good and evil anymore?
That's your choice. We have a choice. We can. No. Where is your moral?
So he said it's a moral choice, and it is a moral choice.
Your morals. Common sense. See, that's if your morals come from common sense.
What was the defense?
Huh?
No, don't lie.
No.
So then you go over here.
Is that in Islam we can enjoy sex? We can have what Allah made. Hold on, hold on a second. Yeah. What Allah has made halal for us, I don't have no embarrassment.
You have no embarrassment about. Seriously? You don't have an embarrassment about having sex slaves? Seriously? What if your child was a sex slave? What if your sister was a sex slave, a concubine? Would you feel embarrassed then? If your mother was a sex slave, would you feel embarrassed then? Or is it just us non-Muslims and kuffars that are okay to be sex slaves? Can you not see how mentally warped your brain has become? And this is why I'm seriously starting to think some of the things that people have been saying to me for a long time about Muslims' minds being warped by this ideology about this sex slavery and this kuffar mentality, non-kuffar, may be true. I don't want to go down this route, if I'm being honest. I mean, I wish I didn't watch this video, but maybe this is a point where I needed to hear this, because a lot of people say to me, Raj, you're being very naive, this is what they think, and people haven't openly said it to me, but to hear somebody who's supposed to be a moderate Muslim say this is very, and he's not an extremist, he's a moderate Muslim, to condone this kind of stuff is very, very, very disturbing.
Whatsoever. Now, for example, he knows the mankind, males, how they are. Like when it comes to women and sex, how weak we are. Yeah, he knows that. And in Islam, like that's why Allah said you can marry up to 4. Now, if you can't do justice with one, then you don't. Do you understand? Now, if you meet the criteria, the conditions of it, then you marry another one. You know, and for example, during war, there is like you can have our Prophet's time during war. They had the opposition's women and stuff like that. You can't just leave them in the middle of the desert.
Maybe you could just drop them off somewhere so they can just survive and live and maybe, you know, just treat them as human beings and not as sex slaves. You know, there is another option. You don't have to forcibly put them into sex slavery and concubines. There is a third option and a fourth option and a fifth option. You're making it out as if there's only one option: either kill them or make them into sex slaves. What kind of logic is this, dude? It doesn't make sense. This is why I'm sure now I'm going to start, I don't know, man. It's going to be controversial, but I have to tell the truth. If I hear something, unless somebody, I'm going to put us out, unless people can clarify what you're saying is a lie, then I will have to start changing my view and saying that Islam does have some kind of link to the grooming. Because if you think like this and this is what you're being taught, then there's a problem, because you would then see the world in a very weird way about, oh, men are overly sexualized, so you can have X amount of wives, and even if you can't do it out, if during wartime and stuff like that, you can have concubines. The fact that you're making this seem very normal will warp a young man's head to the point that he will think that grooming and abusing non-Muslim girls and stuff like that, to them it might just be a concubine. I'm not saying that that is the truth, but in their own warped mind, that's how they might justify it. Yeah, I need to clarify this next time I'll go down there, I think. But only to kind of people that I can have a good conversation with.
You can't just leave them. So you take them in.
Well, you can just leave them. You don't have to, you know, have sex with them.
You shelter them. You have to. They have desires. They have. You have to.
I think their desires might be to have a choice, live free, and maybe have children and have a life that is out of bondage. Maybe that's just their desires, you know. Maybe they don't want to be eternal sex slaves and concubines and second-class citizens. You know, is that really let's just say, is that really kind of a hard concept to grasp? It doesn't.
After them, you know. So we have conditions. So Allah made it permissible for us that way. So for us, our morals comes from Allah.
Is that morals, dude? Think about it. Does it sound moral to you?
And for us to take those women in and look after them, give them shelter. And,
so you're looking after them, giving them shelter. That's great. What a noble thing to do. Amazing. Just leave it at that. You don't have to then force them to have sex. If they want to get married to you and stuff, that's fine. But when you're saying that, oh, there's only two options: kill them and leave them and let them die, or put them into sex slavery, that is madness. I'm telling you that now. I'm not sugarcoating this video, because what you're saying, Syed, is insane.
Even provide for in a sexual way, in every way, food, sexual way, no issues whatsoever. I don't have no issues. For me, that's no morally, it's not a problem. Because I know people in the West, or forget West, anywhere in the world. We listen. Let me just finish this. What we do is we have a wife at home. What we'll do, we'll go out. We'll have mistresses. We'll go to brothels. We'll go to and we'll do it anyway. But
okay, so by your logic, men are gonna, let's just say, beat people up anyway. So we'll have an organized kind of what we call like within your own faith, you will have it so it's okay to beat up 2 people a day, as long as it's controlled. Does that make sense to you? Just because something is controlled and has put kind of like limits upon it, it doesn't mean it's right. You are trying to say because men in the West behave like this, it means that it's okay for you to behave like this. But as long as it's within, let's say has a legal structure with marriage and concubines and stuff. You are crazy, dude. I'll tell you something, like, you're insane. Syed, you are gone mad. I need you to start rethinking. If this is truly, I want Muslims to write down below, if this is truly what Muslims think, then the grooming epidemic is linked to Islam. Because you cannot think like this and then think that it's, when you see girls in the West and stuff, you are going to see them in a particular way which is not healthy and productive. You will see them as sexual objects that you can kind of satisfy your own needs, because men are just like that.
Allah said you could do it. If you're going to do that, do it in a correct way, in a clean way.
Clean way, alright.
And the way you avoid diseases, you problems, like you don't have like single parents, leaving parents, having kids and leaving them, you know. So we have certain rights. So when you work when you work everything out like that, you'll see it morally, it has common sense to it.
It doesn't have no common sense, you lunatic.
You cannot force anybody.
So you can't force anybody. Now, if you're in a war and all you have left is just the people that just killed your people, who are saying to you, well, we're going to take you. Do you think they have a choice, or are they so scared that they're just going to go with anybody to save themselves and their kids? Think about what you're saying, dude. This guy, I swear to God, man, like...
To have sex. So even if it's a slave, you cannot force them to have sex.
You cannot force them. You cannot force them. You have already forced them by mentally enslaving them and physically enslaving them. They have no choice in reality. If you think they do, then you are insane.
That's no way. That, you know, if you can find me anywhere in Islam, it says you can force them to have sex. No, because we are taught that we can't force anybody to have sex. Hell, we can't have sex. We have conditions, the people we can have sex with. If you don't meet those conditions, we are not allowed to have sex with them. Forget forcing one. Forget forcing one. I can't even have sex with anyone that don't meet those certain conditions. You know, yes, in Islam, like concubines and... Huh? There you go, we need to look into it properly. Like, you know, when it comes to concubines and all that sort of thing as well. What Allah made halal for us, I have no issues with it. Because I know I'm a man. When it comes to sex, I know how weak men we are, you know? So, what Allah...
Okay, I'm going to say it to you again. You're saying that men are weak, and so having concubines is completely fine. Is it okay to have your family be concubines? Your children, your daughter, your mum, your sister? Is that okay then? Or is it just us kuffars that have to be concubines? Are women? I'm asking you a serious question. Because I think it's hard for me to say this. I'm going to say this to any other Muslim that's watching, people, especially people that I respect. Clarify to me if this is true or not. Because if this is the mentality that Muslims are being taught, this then shows a direct link to Islam when it comes to grooming, in my opinion. I've tried to separate the two in my own head, and I think that's to do with more to do with my emotional connection with certain individuals at the part that I respect as good Muslim people. But I think they're ignoring this particular aspect then. You need to clarify with me, because otherwise I will then start saying Muslim grooming gangs are to do with Islam. At the moment I say it's not, because either SYED has made a mistake and he's lying, or he's just completely thick, or what he's saying is a truth and he let it slip within these comments and his little debate here. Because it's one of the first times I've heard somebody so off the cuff talk about concubines and men are horny and all this kind of stuff. Normally it's been given in a much more kind of, let's just say, in a much more kind of more digestible fashion. So it makes you think, oh, okay, maybe it's because that. But the way I've never agreed with it anyway. So if boys are being told this, young Muslim boys are being told that men are horny creatures, and so they can have X amount of wives if they can't see, but people in the West are committing sins all the time, so it's okay for us to do it as long as it's done in a legal way. And if worse comes to worse, you know, if there's a war or something like that, it's even okay for us to have unlimited concubines, which are sex slaves. For somebody that's very immature and impressionable, like listening to this could mess your brain up here. And this is why I think you have a lot of these people, a lot of Muslim grooming gangs going around, Asian Muslim grooming gangs going around. You have the effect of the repressed sexuality and this hypersexuality in terms of telling men that you're just horny savages that can't control themselves. So God has given you these kind of conditions to be able to fulfill those needs. Anyway, it's going to be interesting, Speaker's Corner. Now, like I said, I respect people, but I can't ignore the truth, man. If this is the truth, then it's the truth, and I have to start adjusting the way I've been talking about grooming and then linking it if no one can refute this. Anyway, bring on the hate. You know I love it. And to all my Sikh brothers, anyone that wants to come down, don't be afraid, man. We don't have to always agree. As long as we're respectful to each other, come down, come on the camera. If you don't want to be in the camera, go to the side. Anyway, like I said, I spoke about grooming, and this is the drawing. And I'll let kind of Ali Diva had the last show on this particular one. So anyway, take care.